You are 31 years old and you have just been appointed to the bench, and your mother cries at the ceremony. You are a judge now, a real one. Federal court, criminal division, the kind of appointment that doesn't happen to women from your neighborhood, from your background, from families where December meant the electricity getting cut because the bill couldn't be covered. You did everything right to get here. Every exam, every clerkship, every year of watching colleagues with better connections get further faster while you built your record case by case, ruling by ruling, until your record was simply too clean to ignore. The robe is heavier than you expected. Not metaphorically, literally. The fabric thick and formal. You stand in front of the mirror before the ceremony and you look at yourself for a long time. A federal criminal judge. The person who decides. You believe in this completely. You believe in the law the way people believe in the thing that saved them. Because for you, that is exactly what it did. Your mother is still crying when you walk out. You find her face in the crowd immediately. You smile at her. You have no idea what is coming. The first years are clean. You are good at this. Better than good. You are precise, prepared, unintimidated. You read every file, you write every ruling yourself. You don't delegate the things that matter, and you understand instinctively which things matter. Your colleagues notice. Some respect it, some resent it. You don't adjust your behavior for either reaction. You rule against a corrupt municipal official in your second year, and the ruling holds on appeal, and the journalist writes a piece about you and uses the word incorruptible. And you cut it out and put it in a drawer and never look at it again, because you understand that the moment you start believing your own reputation is the moment it becomes a liability. You believe in the law the way some people believe in God. Not blindly, but structurally, as the thing that holds everything else up. You have seen what happens when it fails. You grew up in a neighborhood where it failed constantly. That is precisely why you are here. You tell yourself this on the difficult days. You tell yourself this more than you probably should. The first cartel case arrives in your fourth year. You treat it like every other case, read everything, verify everything, let the evidence speak without interference. The defendant is mid-level, a logistics coordinator, and the evidence is clean and substantial. You find him guilty. The sentence is within guidelines, but toward the upper end, because the evidence warrants it and you follow the evidence. You go home that night and you cook dinner and you watch television and you sleep without difficulty. You are doing exactly what you are supposed to do. 3 weeks later, there is an envelope on your desk when you arrive in the morning. No name on it, no return address, just an envelope sitting on top of your files as if someone placed it there carefully and deliberately. Which, of course, they did. You don't open it. You call security, you file a report. You note the date and time and the name of every person who had access to your office in the preceding 12 hours. You are thorough. You are documented. You are protected, you believe, by process and by record. You believe this for 11 more days. On the 12th day, you are walking to your car and your phone shows a photograph. Your daughter, 12 years old, dark hair, her father's eyes. She is walking out of her school. The photograph was taken from across the street at 3:47 in the afternoon on a Tuesday, which was yesterday. You know it was yesterday because she is wearing the blue jacket she only wears on Tuesdays because Monday is laundry. The photograph has no message attached. It doesn't need one. You sit in your car for 22 minutes before you can drive. You go home and you look at your daughter doing homework at the kitchen table, and she looks up and says, "Mom, you look weird." And you say, "I'm just tired." And you make dinner. That night, you lie awake and you run through everything you know about these people, what they have done to judges who refused, prosecutors who pushed too hard, journalists who printed too much. You know the names. You have read the files. You know exactly what the photograph means, and you know exactly what comes next. And you know that the report you filed and the record you kept and the process you followed protect absolutely nothing that actually matters to you. The second envelope arrives a week later. This time it is on your car seat. Locked car, underground parking, security cameras that somehow produced no useful footage. You understand now that the first envelope was a greeting. This one is the actual conversation. You open it this time. The number inside is large enough to change your life and the lives of everyone you love. You sit with it for 3 days. You don't tell your husband. You don't tell anyone. You sit with it alone, the way you have always sat with difficult things, methodically, from every angle, turning it over until you can see every face of it clearly. You construct arguments for both directions, and you test each one until it breaks or holds. The argument for refusal holds morally and breaks practically. The argument for acceptance breaks morally and holds practically. You are a judge. You have spent your career understanding that most real decisions live in the space where the law and the truth don't perfectly overlap. You have just never been the one standing in that space before. On the third night, you put the number in your phone under a name that means nothing. On the fourth morning, you call it. Your voice is steady. It was always going to be steady. The first ruling you deliver for them is an acquittal on a weapons charge. The evidence was substantial but had a procedural gap, small but real, and you use it. That part is almost clean. A real lawyer could have argued it. You tell yourself this. You tell yourself this for longer than is useful. The defendant walks out of your courtroom and does not look at you. Nobody looks at you differently. The ceiling does not fall. Your colleagues discuss the ruling over coffee, and two of them agree with your reasoning, and one disagrees, and it is a normal professional disagreement, and nothing about the day feels like the day you became something else entirely. That is the part that stays with you. Not the ruling, the normalcy of it. How completely ordinary the extraordinary felt. You go home. Your daughter shows you a drawing she made at school. Your husband has cooked. You eat together at the table and you talk about the weekend, and nobody in that room knows what happened today. And you understand with perfect clarity that nobody ever will. That is not relief. You recognize that immediately. That specific feeling, that is not relief at all. Years pass, and the life you are living has a texture that surprises you. Not the texture of guilt, which you expected, but the texture of routine. You are promoted to a larger courtroom. Your name appears in legal journals. You are photographed at a conference standing beside two ministers and a Supreme Court justice, and the photograph runs in 3 newspapers, and your mother cuts it out and frames it. You buy a new car every 4 years. You take 1 vacation abroad per year. You renovate the kitchen. Nothing that requires explanation. At the long table on Sunday, your husband talks about his work, and your daughter talks about school, and you pass the bread and refill the glasses and participate in the conversation with the specific fluency of someone who has been performing normal for long enough that the performance has its own momentum. Afterward, you wash the dishes alone, because you always wash the dishes alone, and your husband says you don't have to, and you say you like to. What you like is the 20 minutes of hot water and repetitive motion, and the window above the sink that looks out onto the garden where nothing is required of you except to look. You look. You wash. You dry. You go back inside. The case that breaks something arrives in your 11th year on the bench. A trafficking case. 17 victims, documentation that took investigators 4 years to build, evidence so complete and so careful that there is no procedural gap to use, no argument that holds under scrutiny. They come to you anyway. Of course they come to you. The number they offer is the largest you have seen. You sit with it for a week this time instead of 3 days, because something is different and you need to understand what. It takes you 4 days to name it. The 17 victims have faces in the file. You have read files for 11 years, and you have learned to read without seeing, but these faces got through. One of them is the age your daughter is now. You sit with that for the remaining 3 days. Then you do what you have always done. You construct the arguments, you test them, you find the one that holds. You deliver the acquittal on a Friday afternoon in a full courtroom. Your voice does not waver, your hands are still. Nobody in that room knows that something that was already broken just broke further. You drive home. Your daughter is at the kitchen table. You sit beside her and you watch her work, and you say nothing. The first sign is a colleague who stops by your office with a case file and a question so precisely casual it could only have been rehearsed. You answer normally. You watch him leave. You sit for a moment looking at the door he closed behind him, and then you open your desk drawer and you take out a notepad and you write down the date, the time, the exact words he used, and the exact words you used in response. You have kept notes like this for 11 years, not of the rulings, never those, but of everything around them, every conversation that felt slightly off, every request through a slightly irregular channel, every question with a rehearsed casualness. You have 3 notebooks in a drawer at home, wrapped in a cloth and held with a rubber band. That afternoon, you drive a different route home. You stop at a hardware store and buy nothing and walk back out and check the street. You cook dinner. You eat with your family. After your daughter goes to bed, you sit at the kitchen table with a notepad and you begin constructing the version of events that is survivable. Not true, not false, but survivable. You have built arguments your entire career. This is the most important one you will ever build. You are in your office on a Wednesday morning when they come. 2 investigators, federal, polite in the practice way of people whose politeness is a technique. You offer them coffee. You are composed in the way that will later be described in articles as chilling, a word people use when they expect emotion and don't find it. What they don't understand is that the composure is not coldness. It is the product of 30 years of making the only choices available to you inside the conditions you were given. You think about your mother crying at the ceremony. You think about the robe, heavier than expected. You think about the girl who read by streetlight and built something from nothing, and then watched it become something she couldn't have imagined from that streetlight and couldn't have stopped once it started. You think about the 17 faces. You think about your daughter at the kitchen table. The investigators are still talking. You let them finish. Then you ask for a moment before you respond. They allow it. You take exactly 60 seconds. You look out the window at the city going about its business like nothing is happening, like the world is not shifting again on its axis. Then you turn back. Your voice is completely steady. It was always going to be steady.